Hello, this is Marshall Goldsmith. Very, very happy to have you join us on LinkedIn Live today. Today's topic is leading and serving creatively. In today's challenging times, we have two wonderful guests. Let me introduce myself, then I'm going to have my comrade and colleague Sanyin Siang introduce herself, and then we're going to get started. So my name is Marshall. I'm from a small town called Valley Station, Kentucky. I went to school in Indiana, got a PhD at UCLA, was a college professor and dean when I was very, very young. Then for the past 43 years, I've done three things. I give talks or teach classes, traveling all around the world speaking and teaching. I've been to 102 countries. I write books and articles. I've written or edited 41 books, 3 bestsellers. Then I coach executives, or at least I used to. I've been the coach of the CEO of Ford and Pfizer and Glaxo and the World Bank and all kinds of wonderful people. And what I love about coaching is I've learned so much from these people. And then finally, I've got a program called 100 Coaches, which I just love. And the idea behind the program is everybody gives everybody else all we know for free. There's no charge to anybody. We have no money, no guilt, no expectations. You give everything to everybody. And the only thing we ask people to do is to give back to others. So I give it to you and you give it to somebody else. And that's basically it. And in our 100 coaches, I thought maybe 100 people would apply for this and I would pick 15. It turned out we've had 18,000 applicants and we've had over 200 people join our group, although it's called 100 Coaches. And 3 of them I'm honored to say are on the call with me today. 3 just wonderful people. Now, the first one is my great comrade, who's my colleague on all these programs, the #1 coach in this, or perhaps any other world, the wonderful Sanyin Chang. Sanyin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Marshall. Hi, everyone. I'm Sanyin Shang, and I help leaders and their organizations reimagine the future and be more resilient. I work with CEOs, military generals, founders, and students. After all, I am a faculty member at Duke University, where I am the executive director of the Coach K Leadership and Ethics Center at its business school. And I'm excited about today's topic because I'm also the author of the launch book. Back to you, Marshall.
I'll introduce our guest, Julie, and you can introduce our guest, Doug. Okay? Julie Carrier is a spectacular person, the #1 coach for young women in the world. She is an author and she's doing something called virtualyouthsummit.com. And she's just one of the most positive people I've ever met in my life, a member of our wonderful 100 Coaches group. Sanyin, why don't you introduce Doug?
Well, I still remember the first time I met you, Doug. It was at the first gathering of the 100 Coaches. And I was just so taken with your compassion and care. Doug is America's #1 small business coach. He is an action coach, and he also has a new book coming out, which is Business Blind Spots. So excited to have you on the show today, Doug.
Grateful to be here.
Very, 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 very good. Now, we'll get started. Let's get started with Doug. Doug, you've got over 30 years of growing small businesses. You've coached many small businesses owners. There has probably never been a more challenging time for small business today. You could probably spend the entire call on this one topic, but just give us a couple of highlights. What are a couple of your major suggestions for small business leaders in today's challenging world?
Wonderful. And, every region around the world has experienced something like this, meaning recession or disaster or something, but never globally. And so every little community has a whole bunch of small business owners. And so I really like to focus on them and really thinking about communication. So, big corporations have to communicate. And we all see these emails coming out from the big companies, the airlines saying, hey, we're cleaning things, we're doing things, please join us. Well, small business owners need to do the same thing. They really got to communicate, even if they're shut down, communicating to their existing customer base, letting customers know what they could buy from them, because they could probably buy gift cards. They could probably, if it's restaurants, they could do carry out. Communication is one of the most important things. And, I guess probably the most important thing, don't panic, right? There's going to be some challenging times, and they're going to probably get, a little worse, maybe, than better before they get better. And so, don't panic. Plan for 3 months out, plan for 6 months out, strategize. Sad to say, a lot of small businesses are going to go out of business. Well, how would the small business owner take over those customers? Because the customers aren't going anywhere. They're going to come back. And how would you take those customers or take care of those customers instead of letting them go maybe to big companies? How would the small company get them? So I'd say communication is probably the number one thing poorly done by a lot of companies. So do that well, and then really plan for a great future. It just might be 3 months or 6 months out.
Doug, you're making some fascinating points. I, as you know, love restaurants, and sad to say, a lot of restaurants are going to go under. Yet this is a huge opportunity that's coming down the road for other people who might like to get into that industry. And you mentioned small businesses. The reality is, a lot of small businesses are going to go under, but guess what? So are a lot of big businesses. Neiman Marcus just applied for bankruptcy. J. Crew just applied for bankruptcy. And I live in La Jolla, California, and as it's a very nice, affluent neighborhood. And as I walk down Prospect Street, by the way, La Jolla is spelled Lajolla, La Jolla, California. And as I walk down Prospect Street, right, in La Jolla, I see all of these businesses, and you're right, a lot of them are going to go under. Joe Crew is there. Maybe they're going to go under, but perhaps some new small business will come in, maybe more of a boutique or somebody that's living their dreams. So I agree with you. This is a challenge, yet at the same time, this could be an opportunity. Somebody's going to do something in those shopping malls that are getting vacant. Somebody's going to do something there. And I love your point. The customers aren't going to go away. The customers aren't going to go away, and everything's going to reopen under new management. Now, Julie, what specific advice might you have today for young women?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the advice I would give. Oh, you can't hear me? Oh no, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, you can? Okay, good. Sorry. So the advice I would actually give for young women is actually the same advice I would give for everyone. It's that right now we are all running a marathon at a sprint pace, and that's not sustainable. And so I think that the number one thing that young leaders can do, that young women can do, that really all of us can do in a position of authority or influence is we really need to make sure to serve while we also focus on taking care of ourselves too. I actually do a demonstration for young people. I call it the crushed can principle. It'll take 2 seconds. So like if I show you 2 cans, this one is empty, this one's full, which is gonna cave under pressure. So this is the empty can. Super easy, right? This one is the full can. I can put a ton of pressure, a ton of weight on this, and it's not going to fall under the pressure of everything going at it. The same thing is happening to people. Self-care is not a luxury. It is a necessity in this environment.
I
Thank
love
you,
that
thank you.
so
So,
much. Julie.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Sonia,
and actually, what
what-
Doug, so what
yeah,
Doug said
Julia.
earlier about, yeah, what Doug said earlier about communicate, stay calm, and plan, that also applies to the young woman that Julie is working with, coaching, and she's also a top speaker for speaking to young women across the world. And I love that analogy of the cans, Julie. So a question for both of you is, during this time, it's very easy for us to think about just, all right, let's focus on ourselves only. Why is it so important to serve others? And how do you connect the two, how serving others is also a way of helping yourself? Julie, why don't we start with you?
Yes, you know, it's interesting. It's a balancing act. How do we restore ourselves while also serving others? And that's
Well,
where you find what gives you energy and what
time
gives
out.
you passion.
We're supposed to ask people for questions, and we forgot Sanyin. So anyone that has any questions for me or for Doug, I'm very absent-minded. And Sanyin, you're supposed to be my memory here. So, you know,
I'm losing it. I'm growing older every day. It's my age.
you're hanging around me too long. You're assuming my bad characteristics. Now you have to remind me. Ask for questions. So in the chat box, write any questions about young women's issues for Julie, small business for Doug. Write them in the chat box. We're going to get to those later. And Sanyin, remember, you must remind me of everything. Now, my apologies for interrupting, Julie. Go back and answer your question.
Yes,
That's okay.
serving others.
Yes. So what we can do is we can actually serve while we restore. That might seem counterintuitive, but just to give you an example, as someone who's a professional speaker who travels all over the world, who also serves young people, I found in this time of distance learning, students have never felt more disconnected. So I thought, what is a way that actually restores me, that energizes me, that I actually can bring to the world and serve this vulnerable population? So as an example, just yesterday, we launched virtual youthsummits.com to support local school districts. We did our first ever summit. We had Monique from High School Musical. We had positive celebrity role models and also featured the students. I finished that summit like I had drank 10 cups of coffee. I'm still living on all of the joy that I got from the student comments. And I think one actually said, "This has made my whole life," with tear emojis. That restores me. So I think we can find out how we can serve while we also take care of ourselves by focusing on what is a way we can serve that also brings us energy.
How about you, Doug?
Wonderful question, Sanyin. The interesting thing is we all have needs. I mean, we're all going through so much change, right? But so much is still the same. We still love, like my mom turned 77 yesterday, and she loves steak and lobster. So guess what I did? I went to a restaurant, I ordered steak and lobster, got her birthday cake, got her some balloons. You can still spend $200 on dinner, even if it's to go. And so, you know, how to serve others might be, you know, one or two nice dinners that you might go out and you might order out and then take home. You know, buy gift cards to places that are closed. You might have, you know, a spa, a hair salon, places that are closed today. Here in Houston, Texas, a lot of places are closed still. You can still say, hey, I want to support you. I want to help you and help the economy. Because really, here in America, and I know this is broadcast all around the world, but in America, we are a spend economy. And the only way the economy gets back going is when we get comfortable in buying things. So, you know, buy things from your local retailer because you can pick those up. Buy things from your restaurants because you got to eat. That's still the same. You know, use that fitness instructor that's got an online program because they need to feed their kids. They need to take care of themselves. And we probably could afford a little bit of spending because the more we spend, the more the economy is going to get kicked back into gear again. And that's all we really have to do is kind of, you know, focus a little bit on sharing the wealth, even though some of us don't have jobs right now. But still, we can go out, we can order a few things, We can buy a few gift cards. We can help take care of others by still taking care of ourselves.
I think that is a wonderful, wonderful point, because I don't want all those little stores to go broke. I would feel very sad for those people. And it makes our community so nice that, one of the phrases I've heard so many times during this period is positive and negative. The phrase sounds like this: I just realized I don't need all that stuff. I don't need all that stuff. Well, in a way, that's pretty positive. I don't need all that stuff. On the other hand, somebody's got to make that stuff. Somebody's got to sell that stuff. Somebody's got to deliver that stuff. And that stuff is the global economy you don't need. And Doug's point is well taken. I mean, go to the little store. I mean, one of my good friends, Mark Ryder, one of his children has plenty of money, and inadvertently they got paid by the government. And they didn't even ask for it, but for tax reasons, I guess it didn't show up they made a lot of income. And what they did is they donated the money to their favorite restaurant to give to the staff that were no longer getting paid. And on the hopes that, look, we're going to try to help keep this place alive as best we can. Please give this money. The staff has always been so nice to us over the years in this little restaurant. Just give them the money. We don't need it. Just give it to them. And hopefully they can use it in a way that help them get through this period. So, Doug, I just love your idea I love small business people. So I love your idea of doing whatever we can do to help the small business people in the world. Such a wonderful thought. Sanyin, one more question for our two wonderful colleagues.
Well, actually, it's an observation about how both Doug and Julie's comments intertwined with each other. So, I just did a piece with two friends of mine, a retired four-star general and the dean of Duke's Divinity School, and it's about how you build long-term resilience. And part of that is how we have to get re-energized all the time. The best way to do that is through friendships and community. And what this idea of serving others, that's how we get re-energized. That's what Julie was saying. How we serve others, we get re-energized. And then Doug was like, well, we mean, go and continue to purchase to support the small businesses. You don't have to purchase things for you. You can purchase things, for example, for that restaurant, purchase carry out for a medical responder, a first responder. You can purchase that for a teacher. You may not need those things, but we all love presents. So what if how we serve others is also by helping our small businesses and gifts to support those who are on the front lines or friends who are meaningful to us. So that was just an observation I saw from both Julie and Doug.
Yay! Applause for Sanyin. Yay! That was good. That was good. A couple things. We have our wonderful friends from Method who are really supporting this whole project and do a fantastic job. Justin or Brent, who's with us today?
Justin is here. If you can hear me, Marshall. Good morning.
I hear you, Justin. Justin, good morning. A couple things.
Hey,
one, we have a good question for the audience. And two, I'm going to ask the audience a question. And I'd like people to respond in the chat box to the answer to this question. The question is, how can we, you, us, serve creatively in today's challenging world? How can we serve others creatively? I'm not going to ask about leading creatively. We talk a lot about that. How can we serve others creatively? Please write your ideas in the chat box. And then maybe, Justin, you can read a couple of those good ideas back from the people listening to us. And then number two, Justin, what are some good questions from the people listening that we might share with Doug or Julie or both?
Perfect. Okay, so a bunch of questions flowing in. I'm going to pick a few. You'll have to excuse me. I've been on too many Zoom meetings and calls, so I've lost my voice. But what we have here is from Houston, Texas. Neighbor down the street, Tim Sullivan, says, what impact are you seeing with small business owners? Have they given up? Are they surviving barely? Or are they still going strong? So I think that's directed to you, Doug.
Yeah, great question. And it's a variety, right? So I've been doing these interviews. I've been trying to help the small business owner by we have a small database, about 12,000 people. And so we're doing a whole bunch of interviews. So I'm doing 20-minute interviews with small business owners, and I'm calling some, and they're closed, but they're restaurants and they don't have to be closed. So that 20-minute interview turns into a little coaching session about break even and try to help them understand, if they were open, could they make payroll? If they were open, could they serve their community? And the answers are usually yes. And so helping them become, and I know the word is pivot, but help them become a better company and be a little bit more inspired and motivated to do some things. So some are, adamant and they're closed, they're scared. They've watched too much news. They're really worried about, dying, which is sad. Yes, lots of people are. But they're not necessarily thinking of their community. And so helping them become a better business owner is my challenge. And I take that challenge on. And it's sad to see some are closed and won't reopen. I've seen some that are for sale that are like 20 cents on the dollar. And then some that are like, hey, I am going to battle this. I am going to win this challenge. And they're booming. And they're really, they built tents for drive-throughs. And so they're selling their goods and services that way. So great question. It's a variety of things that, it really kind of goes down to their mindset. And if you have the positive mindset of, yes, this is a challenge, and what do I do to get through the challenge, you'll be better off. And then those that have the mindset of, I can't do it, and then they shut down.
Excellent comment. Okay, Justin, what's another comment or question?
All right, well, the next one's going to be for Julie, so get ready, Julie. Before we do that, though, I'm just going to read some of the stream here of some of the comments that are coming in from folks about great ideas. Joanne says, if you're alone and cooking a meal, why not try making a meal for a friend and deliver it? It's a nice way. Provide them with relevant, meaningful content to make them feel more connected, to act as an anchor in their day or week. That comes from MJ. Quite a few great things. Here's a great one from Amina. Says, giving most of my coaching time for free to support other coaches, as well as many others in my community. So people are trying to serve and give the little bit of time that they have to help out their community. It looks like from a pretty overwhelming response here, Marshall. From a question standpoint, we have a question in from Canada. This one comes from Margaret Page, and she writes to you, Julie, and she says, do young women want to be supported in a different way than their predecessors?
I think the interesting thing about a crisis is that as humans, a lot of us are in the exact same situation with the same types of pressures, with the exception of working moms who I think have an even greater burden in the situation. I think the reality is for all of us, whether it's a woman or a man or young women, is we need to understand that our capacity to take action really is dependent on our energy and our emotions. And a lot of people right now, especially young women, are feeling almost incapacitated by overwhelming guilt if they have resources, but they feel bad about the way that their life is, or overwhelming paralysis, like they don't know what to do. And I always say that the best antidote to those heavy emotions that prevent people from taking action is actually gratitude and generosity. So really focusing on what do you have in your life to be grateful for? And then two, what are those small, seemingly small things that you can do to uplift and encourage others? Maybe it's something like we just heard, making a meal for a friend, putting a heart sign in somebody's yard, or even like one of my friends surprised their neighbors with chicken pot pie. Like the ways to serve are endless, and that is really the way through this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Oh, Sanyin, what's that? Oh, come on, bring the kid back.
This is life.
Hello.
This is life. Well, I'm one of those working moms. Saying, I will make
Very good timing. Sanyin, very clever how you got your child to come in right on schedule like that. Very, very smart, Sanyin. Very good.
so much. This is life, right? Our work and life are intertwined.
And I just want to say, as I see that and I see your sweet little one, I just want to emphasize, if you are a working mom out there, you deserve a gold medal. Like, working moms are doing so amazing right now, though they feel like they're not measuring up. They are. They deserve a gold medal. They deserve a trophy. They deserve like a stage with spotlights and confetti. So a big shout out to all the working moms out there who are really doing extraordinary amounts of effort and work and supporting their families.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Sanyin. Now, Sanyin, who's that guy that's walking around in the background? Who's that?
The little guy or the big guy? The big guy is the love of my life. And the little guy is my 7-year-old, my youngest. And then the two girls were my oldest. They're hiding.
What's your husband do?
He is a physician. He is a physician at Duke University Hospital. And today he has a day off. And so he's helping to make the sandwiches for the kids. Very proud of him.
Very proud. It's very good for him. So thank you. How about Justin? Another good question for our wonderful duo?
Yes, give me one moment here. We just had a little freeze on the screen here. Let's see if I've got a good one here. So question from, it just went away on me here. What about, okay. Let's see, that's not it. Give me a moment here. The screen just.
This is what I love about technology. Always a drama. Forget it. Why don't we do this? Doug, one final wonderful comment from you, and Julie, one final wonderful comment from you, and then Sanyin, one final wonderful comment from you. So let's start. Doug, what's one final wonderful comment from you?
So I've got a book coming out called Blind Spots, and today there's a spotlight on blind spots in every business. And so I encourage everybody, don't ignore the spotlight on your blind spot. So your blind spot may be cash flow, it may be marketing, it may be sales, it may be customer service, it may be your team, right? But that spotlight that's on the blind spot, fix it, make it a permanent, repair it, fix it so that it never happens again, whether it's cash flow or whatever it happens to be. Just understand these are opportunities to fix challenges in business, even though it's challenging. We just want to be sure that you fix it permanently.
And Doug, I think the time to do that is now. In fact, that reminds me of a song, one of my favorite rock and roll songs. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Let's move before they raise the parking rate. So fix it right now. How about you, Julie?
Yeah, I was thinking about who would I really want to uplift and encourage right now? And this is especially for the parents. Many parents who have teenagers and young ones, they're really overwhelmed right now. And I think a lot of parents are wondering, how do they support their young people that they care about in this time? And I would say the best way to support your young people is to realize that everyone needs to focus, instead of on happiness, on finding meaning. There's a lot going on right now. It's very overwhelming, but really understanding that everything does happen for a reason. Crises can be a time where we grow and learn the most in a short period of time. So taking intentional time with those you love, family, friends, and really talking about what is something that you've learned through this? How is this going to make your life better? Happiness is good, but meaning is even more important.
Yeah, my screen. Yay. Sanyin, final thought.
We should take the time to reflect, connect, and as Julie said, find meaning. Because when we're able to reflect, connect, and serve, that's how we can lead meaningful lives and lives of significance. There's that Jackie Robinson quote, which says, basically, our significance is measured by the impact we have on other lives. That's service. And one of our dear mentors for all of us is Frances Hesselbein, and she has tattooed in invisible ink this line, which is, "To serve is to live," and that's more relevant than ever.
Finally, it is my honor to be an honorary father here in my 100 Coaches program to all three of you. Wonderful, wonderful human beings. Honored to know all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. To our wonderful viewers, look, our mission here is try to help you have a little better life in the best way we can. Please take everything we do in the spirit of what you feel and hopefully help your life be just a little bit better. So thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye. Wave goodbye to everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.